Hey South Fork family, excited to be coming back with the weekly preview of what we're reading in the Bible this week. And so this is for week 29 of reading through the Bible 2017. So this week we're going to be reading in Isaiah, 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, a couple Psalms. And as we read, the main portion is going to be in the book of Isaiah. And so again, we threw these out to you guys at the beginning of the year, but these handy dandy posters from the Bible Project are super helpful, and here's why. If I zoom in really closely here, you'll see that they're broken down into different sections. And so as we're reading through the book of Isaiah, specifically chapters 18 through 37, you'll see that they're actually split into different boxes. So 18 is going to be, right that way, and then it's going to be up through here. Now, here's the reason it's important to get one of these guys and actually roll through it. One of the things that we've been talking to, or at least I've talked to a lot of you guys, and I know Jonathan and Michelle and Brandon have as well, is something we've been hearing a lot is, hey, I'm getting lost in these books, and especially in this section, and it's helpful to think of the Old Testament like this. We've got like the law, we've got the wisdom literature, we've got the Psalms, and then we've got what's called the prophets. Now, something that's important to understand about the prophets is this. We've got the really big books of the prophets, think like Isaiah, for instance. And then we've got the smaller books of the prophets. We call those the minor prophets. So you've got the major and the minor prophets. But both equally are hard to understand. And so I heard Jonathan say this the other day to somebody. I think it's really helpful. One of the things you've got to remember is just keep trucking along. So if you're getting stuck, just keep reading, because what God's going to do is going to speak to you through at least one verse out of the reading that day. And so just keep plugging along, knowing that it's getting into your brain and then into your heart more than you realize. If it just feels like you're going through the motions, don't lose heart. It is going to make more sense, and then something is going to stick out at you. But another thing to do is to break it down. And so if you're having trouble, go back and watch one of the Bible Project videos. So simply just go to youtube.com, type in the Bible Project, and like this week we're reading through the book of Isaiah, so type that in. And here's what you're going to see a little bit this week of in the book of Isaiah. This section we're going to read is going to talk quite a bit about the rise and fall of Jerusalem, and in there the fall of Israel's neighbors. And so you're going to see a lot of language, though, speaking towards like the coming king. And so you'll notice, especially if you've had any type of background in church, one of the things that you'll notice is some readings that will sound familiar to a lot of what we read around Christmas, which is this prophecy language coming out about the coming king, so the coming Messiah. And so Isaiah, you're going to see, and a neat little fun fact about Isaiah, it's actually referred to sometimes as the fifth gospel because it talks so much about Jesus. So this week you're going to see some of that language coming through, especially when it begins to talk about the servant or the suffering servant, and some of those types of passages. You're going to hear a lot of the coming king of Jesus. But one of the important things to remember is this, is that God sees his people through hard times. And so when you read about Babylon, you're reading about this oppressive force or this oppressive government coming over God's people, but God never abandons his people. But in the midst of even their oppression, he calls them to a standard of holiness, a standard of obedience to him, no matter their situation. And so let's remember to be like that. So the tip for the week is like, let's remember to be obedient to the Lord, even when we're going through trials. Trials aren't an excuse for disobedience. Trials aren't an excuse for complaining. Trials and suffering aren't an excuse to lose our hope and faith in God. And while that might be easy to say and hard to do, it doesn't make it any less true. So, hey, be encouraged this week that God has not only called you to be obedient and faithful in times of trial, but he's also going to give you the strength, because he's never going to leave us. He's never going to forsake us. We know that that's a truth, but we need to live in light of it. So with that, guys, have a great time reading through the book of Isaiah and some of the Psalms and Chronicles this week. We'll see you on the other side of it. Have a great week, guys.